Being able to work with WWE for at least a decade is a great achievement, as it proves how loyal a person is to Vince McMahon. Sure, there are some wrestlers like Edge who have left the company after retirement due to injury to level, but then made their sensational return in 2020. Some wrestlers left the company after spending 2 decades in the company, so as to find better booking in other companies like AEW, which has been hiring former WWE superstars non-stop. But these veterans have proved how loyal they are, as they have never left the company. But who are they? Well, join us now as look at 12 active WWE superstars who have never left the company since debuting. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see more videos. Number 12, Tamina. Tamina has been in WWE since 2010. She hadn't spent too long in the wrestling business before signing with WWE in 2010, and even spent less time in the development as she was thrust on to alongside themselves. Tamina has had ups and downs in time in the company, as she never won a meaningful championship like the women's title, to be precise. Sure, she would win the women's tag team championship with Natalia in 2021, but then went down the card as she has a meaningful storyline after losing her. Number 11, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has had 1 year of a WWE career so far, and it doesn't look as though it is anywhere close to being over, with plenty of years still to spend on top of card. This WWE journey began all the way back in 2010 as one of the best names in indie wrestling aside with the WWE development. Seth would be moved in WWE style and became the inaugural NXT champion. Seth is having the best career one would wish to have, as he has won many WWE titles, a Royal Rumble, and a sea of WrestleMania moments. Right now he is having a feud with the returning Codwell, as they are going to face again at WrestleMania, where Seth might take revenge for the 2 defeats he has had at the hands of the American Nightmare. Number 10, Naomi. Naomi has often been considered as someone massively idolized by WWE, and it is easy to see why. With her great athleticism and natural charisma and popularity with the fans, which has never been dwindled despite a lack of exposure and pushes at times. Surely, Naomi has had some great moments, as she has won the Women's Championship twice, so now she is holding the Women's Tag Team titles with the Bros Sasha Banks. Naomi resigned the developmental all the way back in 2009, and would eventually compete in the old NXT game show, which was a disaster, before eventually debuting on the main roster as a Fangirl alongside Cameron. Naomi still has a long way to go with the WWE, and with her family members at the top of the bloodline to be precise, which she might join in the future and becoming successful and be taken more serious like Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Number 9, Big E. There's probably not a single wrestling fan in existence who would claim that Big E, who is currently out of action due to a broken neck, hasn't paid these dues on his way to the top of the wrestling industry. He signed a developmental contract with the WWE in 2009, just a few years after an injury ended his time playing defensive end for the Raw State Hockey football team. Sorry if I mentioned that wrongly. Big E's athleticism and powerlifting background immediately impressed trainers, but he required nearly 4 years of season to Florida Championship Wrestling or NXT before being promoted to the main roster. Big E pulled double duty for a period, being NXT champion while allying himself with AJ Lee and Dolph Ziggler on Raw. In 2014, he was paired with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston in a trio which were at first seeming to miss a beat, ended up opening the door to a whole new day in Big E's career, as he would win the WWE title which seemed to be impossible when he was with Ziggler and AJ Lee. Number 8, The Usos. Jimmy and Jey Uso, the sons of Rikishi, signed with WWE in 2009 and were immediately assigned to Florida Championship Wrestling late that year. They debuted in 2010 as heels on Monday Night Raw alongside Tamina, but their initial run is underwhelming as the young brothers struggled to stand out of the rest of the mid-card. Their babyface turn in 2011 let them show a different side of their personalities, and their stint in NXT helped them develop main wrestling characters, which finally came to fruition in 2014 when they won the first of 7 WWE Tag Team Championships. Since then, they duo had their shares of ups and downs as both babyface and heels, but their current position as SmackDown Tag Team Champs seems safe as long as their cousin Roman Reigns stays as the head of the table. Number 7, R-Truth. R-Truth said with WWE off the strength of a highlight video he submitted in 1999 but his time as K-Quink, don't know how to pronounce that, was forgettable aside from a beef tag team with Road Dogg. Upon his release in 2002, Jeff Jarrett's up-and-coming TNA promotion Sad Killings, who quietly became NWA World Heavyweight Champion. After losing the title later that year, however, he fell into the mid-card, and after frustration with his inability to work in AAA and other outside promotions, he negotiated his release in late 2007. The following year, Killings, now dubbed as R2, made his WWE debut, and though he has never captured the WWE Championship, he has had one of the best careers in WWE, as he holds the record of most 24/7 championship wins. Number 6. Sheamus. Upon Sheamus' debut in 2007, he spent the better part of the next 2 years in Florida Championship Wrestling. In 2009, however, he received an opportunity to join the main roster's classic throne ECW. After less than 5 months though, the Irishman got his big break upon being drafted to Raw, ending the year as WWE Champion less than 6 months after his main roster debut. With this, there is no reason for Sheamus to leave WWE to join other promotions, as he has achieved everything he has to achieve in the wrestling business. Number 5. Natalya. Natalya Neidhart might have officially signed with WWE in 2007, but professional wrestling is in her blood. She, cousin A. Smith, and family friend Ted Amis bounced among the various developmental promotional at time before she, Smith, and TJ Wilson ended up on the main roster. Natalya debuted in the women's division first for several months before she, Smith, and the renamed Tyson Kidd established the Hart Dynasty, which coincided with their outbreaks return to the company. In the decade since, Natalya has been a mainstream on main roster, holding the Divas Championship, the SmackDown Men's Championship once, a piece of most recent serving as one of half of the Women's Championship, alongside fellow second-generation star Tamina. Number 4. Kofi Kingston. The young Ghanaian began training in 2005 and was signed as a still green yet athletic prospect with strong potential. It took a couple of years of season before officials felt he was ready for television, though as Kingston made his debut for ECW in early 2008. Moving forward, Kingston was a reliable if unspectacular babyface whose only major push in 2009 even feud against Randy Orton went infamously over. Despite the popular association with Xavier Woods and Big E as the New Day beginning in 2014, it seemed like Kofi Kingston was destined to be considered a top name who have never won the big prize. However, that all changed with Kofi Mania, the all-deserved culminative of his years of top-notch performances. Number 4. Dolph Ziggler. When the Spirit Squad debuted on Raw for their first main roster appearance in January 2006, despite the goofy gimmick, fans were quick to speculate on which of the 5 young men from developmental would be future stars. It wouldn't take long before only one was left standing, Nicky Nemeth. Before joining the Spirit Squad, Nemeth also performed for a minute as Chavo Kevin Wyatt Guerrero's steady in a gimmick that was abandoned with the death of Guerrero's Uncle Eddie. His re-emergence as Dolph Ziggler in September 2008 wound up shining into 13 contested years of solid in-ring and character work under the same gimmick. Number 2. The Miz. When Mike Mizanin talked about his love of professional wrestling as a cast member on MTV's The Real World, it was treated as a joke. However, WWE executives must have seen the very things: inherent charisma, humor, and an underrated work ethic that caused MTV to bring Mizanin back several times after his guest's initial season. At worst, Mizanin would be a perfect fit for Tough Enough, and soon if he didn't win, he was a crossover figure sure to draw at least a few curious MTV viewers. Sure, things got off at a rocky start when The Miz debuted as the host of SmackDown in 2006, but The Miz would win the Money in the Bank 2 times, which would lead him to win the WWE Championship at 2 different occasions. In his 17 consecutive years of active WWE employment, The Miz have achieved everything one would wish to achieve, especially after being criticized by people who did not expect him to be successful in the wrestling business. In number 1, Randy Orton. Orton's 20-year WWE career has taken him from being a legend killer to a legend himself, and the 14-time world champion is an underrated candidate to eventually break Ric Flair and John Cena's record of 16. Perhaps most impressively, however, is that aside from a few short breaks, he's been an active member of the in-ring roster for that entire stretch, something that others like Triple H and John Cena can say. The Viper was a blue chip prospect from the start as part of the famous OVW class of 2002 alongside Cena, Brock Lesnar and Batista. Despite taking a bit to get going, including his infamous shoulder injury and the company are in progress updates on Raw, soon Orton joined Ric Flair, Triple H and Batista in Evolution and became the youngest world champion in WWE history at 24 years in 2004. 17 years later, Orton seemed to be having more fun than ever as one of half of the Raw Tag Team Champions with Riddle in RIK Bro and might have another decade in him before slowing down. Well guys, what do you think about the video? Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you do not miss any of my videos. Until then, see you next time.